Hi guys, I want to congratulate you for your amazing chat. It was really interesting, and I want to comment about it in by this video. And I first of all I agree with you. A week has passed by so quickly, and I haven't realized that it was only last week when I have posted a video commenting yours, and this one was really interesting as well. And well, I have written down here some points, and I want to comment them. I guess I'll try to shorten a little bit this video, because the last one was a little bit long, so I'll try to talk in no more than 20 minutes, right? So well, I'm at the ending, more or less at the ending of your video. You have talked a little bit about your experiences, starting with English. Bernadette, you told us that you started with a course around 8 years ago, and that was and then you started, and then you continued that process. And well, it's really interesting, and I think that really, if you want to start with some language, this is my standpoint. I think that you have to. It's really difficult to start by yourself, and I recommend to do a course at the beginning, right? I have thought a little bit. What should I do if I wanted to learn French, for example? I think that that starting by myself would be a little bit harsh. So I guess that if I wanted to learn French, for example, or Chinese, or other language, I guess I would try to start with a course. It's how what I feel, right. I think I start with a course, because it's difficult to get the motivation to go on. It's not easy, so you have to start like a teenager, right? Like a teenager, not like a child, because childs, they learn different, right? Because their environment is different, and it's really difficult for us, like as adults, to start like a very little child. I guess we should imagine for a while that we are teenagers again, and we have to start like teenagers, with a teacher, with a coach, somebody pushing you to learn. And I definitely think that that's the way it'll work. And then when time goes by, I guess that as we go improving, then we can work on ourselves, like in on our own way. And that's what I think about it. And well, the experience of Manuel is really interesting as well, because as he he was only literally he was dropped in the USA, and despite there are lots of Spanish speakers in the USA, the society it's an English speaking country, right? It's an English speaking country, and all the errands you have to run, all the different stuff you have to do if you have to try to look for a job or things, you have to to do all that in English. So literally he was dropped in the USA, and he had to, you Manuel, you had to learn English quickly, right? And picking words from anywhere, right? A kind of traumatic experience, I guess. And well, it's interesting as well. Now you, as you say, you have developed a more standardized method, right? Your own method, and you have been following it. And well, my experience is different. Well, I lived in Australia when I was a child, and in those years I had an amazing level of English when I was around. Think I arrived in Chile when I was 8 years old, right? So when I was in those ages, I spoke English like a native, and it was amazing. I have found some recordings when I of a cassette in those ages. Do you remember, guys? In those ages, there exist cassettes, and we sent cassettes to Chile, and talking to our relatives. And I remember in that cassettes, talking to our relatives. Well, I didn't know them, right? My mom, my uncle, my dad, they told me that we had relatives in Chile. I didn't know about them. But well, I talked to them without really knowing them. And I remember for a moment, in a moment, they said me, talk a little bit in English, Marcelo. Well, in those ages, my Spanish was really bad, right? But in my home, we talked in Spanish, right? We talked in Spanish, but outside I had to talk with other children in English. And but my Spanish was not that good, right? Was not that good in those ages, in those years. And I remember they said me a little bit, talk a little bit in English. And I have heard now this recording, and it impressed me a lot, because I really talk like an Australian boy. My Australian accent was amazing, but well, then we arrived here in Chile when I was around 8 years old. And the reality is that I think that when you are 8 years old, your native language, which was English in those ages, wasn't developed enough. I didn't well, in if you think now, yesterday I have turned 39, but if you think on the long run, being speaking like a native when you were 8 years old, it's not enough, right? Because then I began to lose my English little by little, because I didn't practice it. I didn't practice it anymore. and I remember that I didn't have the opportunity to talk in English, and I didn't have the most suitable mindset, right, to to keep English with me, right? I don't know if that the most correct word, right? The most proper English word, the the most proper English phrase, right? I didn't have the correct mindset to maintain, right, to keep English. And definitely what I thought in those years that is that I wanted to integrate, right, to integrate myself to this country as fast as possible. And I remember that I said to myself in a moment that I didn't want to speak English anymore. I only wanted to speak Spanish. I wanted to force my brain to Spanish, right? To the Spanish language. And I made a kind of ban to myself to not speaking in English anymore, right? And no matter what other people would tell me, I only wanted to speak Spanish, and I wanted to forget English. And I still remember that when I was 7 years old, 8 years old, or less than that, all my thoughts were in English. So, but then I didn't want to speak English anymore. I still remember something that happened to me. There were all my cousins together, and I went for to them. And it was a meeting. I don't remember. They were all playing, and I naturally spoke in English. Hello guys, what are you doing? And I didn't realize that I was in Chile, and all one laughed at me at that moment. I guess that it was something spontaneous, right? And I remember that I felt so embarrassed, right? I felt so embarrassed, and I said, no, I have to forget English. I have to speak from now on only Spanish. And well, then little by little, something really sad happened. Is that I imagine more than 30 years ago, right? And a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 20 years go pass by so quickly. So then I realized that, for example, when I was 25 years old, for example, I had my English was dropped down so much. And well, I still remember that, for example, when I was 25 years old, I wasn't able to speak English, right? And I have forgotten it so much, right? And then and even if there was, I have joined two things: the desire to only speak Spanish, and the fact that here in Chile there didn't exist the internet, stuff like that, pages like this one, and they then those two facts joined, and how could I recover my English? It was nearly impossible. So my level dropped down so quickly, and I remember that, well, then when I ended my career, I ended the university, then I had the opportunity to make to do a course, to join to a course when in the 2010, nearly when Bernadette said to us that she has started a course. And I remember that I did a course, of an English course on those on 2010, and or 2010, right? I'm not sure about that. And I remember that I began to recover it, right? I began to recover it, and I began to get it back, right? I'm going to use a phrasal verb. I began to get my English back, right? And but the thing, guys, is that well, I have ended that course, but again, I didn't have the opportunity to talk. I know, guys, that my sister, she speaks in English, right? She speaks English, but the routine of the life makes that we don't have the opportunity to speak in English on a regular basis, right? The reality is, well, sometimes we have spoken in English, but it's not on a regular basis, right? And if you don't make a routine, right, you won't improve, right? I think you won't improve if you don't make a routine, right? And well, that's my experience. And by the way, you have talked a little bit about your routines of learning English. And well, I've written here down the your routines. What did I write? Yeah, Manuel said that you are used to listening to the radio, and here I have written down the routines. Manuel, you have a routine of to listening to the radio every morning, and well, you have, well, nowadays is different, cause well, you are lucky cause you live in the USA, but nowadays it doesn't, as we have spoken in other moment. Nowadays it doesn't matter if you live in a Spanish speaking country or in a non-English speaking country, cause nowadays here from Chile everything is in Spanish, but it's not necessary to turn on the TV or on. There are plenty of resources to listen to English. So, but that didn't work in that by that way in the past, right? In the past, you were, if you were in a Spanish speaking country, for example, and you only would listen to Spanish, right? Because the only way that you could listen to English if you went to a course, if you bought some book, if you bought CDs, right, in those ages, cassettes or CDs, right? But nowadays, we can the technology nowadays technology, not the technology, the technology nowadays technology allows us to listen whatever we want or watch whatever we want, right? And so I'm really glad about that, right? Perhaps I'd like to have that opportunity in the past, right? But well, I hadn't, and it's not a good idea to cry over the spoiled milk, right? So you always have to think on the future, right? Past doesn't matter. What you didn't do on the past, well, yes, you didn't do it, right? Don't cry over the spoiled or spilled milk, right? And that's a great routine. I want to talk a little bit about your routines, then I'm going to talk about mine. So well, Manuel, he listens to the radio, which is really hard because well, they speak, they are native speakers, right? And they speak with their own idioms. They speak informal English, so that's not really not easy, right? It's really not easy. So I definitely have to congratulate you. I want to seize on this moment to tell to you that I'm going to mention another comment, which is related to this topic. There's another guy called Patricio. He has posted a video on the chat box, and he was chatting with other guys, and he told us that it's really harsh to understand American people, right? So that's why he rather listen to British people. But well, then I commented a little bit to him, and my standpoint is that it doesn't depend how difficult is to understand a person doesn't depend on their accent, right? I guess that different people from different places, they speak different. So there are people, there are either people from the UK, from Australia, which are really difficult to understand, and there are other people from the USA which are really easy to understand, right? And it really depends, right? And there are non-native as well. There are people. I don't think that it depends on the accent. Different people speak differently, right? And even in my own language, Spanish, there are some people who speak really, really, really. I don't know if you had to say really bad, but it's difficult to understand some people. And the other thing that well, now talking about Bernadette's routine, she told us that she is used to chatting with people on the WhatsApp group, and well, it's really fun. And the reality is, well, I have spotted that we all have different methods which are suitable for each one, right? So it's we can suggest some methods, but we are really all different. So for example, for me, joining to the WhatsApp group is not. The reality is that I'm a little bit. I have I guess that I've just opted for a method. I have chosen a method, right? And this method is a little bit overwhelming as well. So I'll definitely like to join to the WhatsApp group, but I guess that I won't have the enough time, because I just have a kind of commitment. It's a commitment that I've made in on my own will, right? I I'm it's not mandatory, right? But I have done that commitment, which is checking nearly every single video on Kanguro English, right? I have to say that I check these three platforms: Kanguro English Official, Kanguro English Chat Box, and Kanguro English Music Group, right? So I try to check every single video. Sometimes there are some that perhaps I skip by mistake. Sometimes, well, there are other ones that I skip. For example, some written posts. Well, when they write a lot, I try to read it, right? But well, there are other kind of posts that I usually skip, which are when they share something from the internet, right? Cause well, the reality, guys, if for example, in my case, if I shared with you all what I see on the internet, well, I really would overwhelm you guys, because I try to not share things from the internet, because the internet is really plenty of things, of videos, right? So I rather pay attention on self-produced English, right? And for things of the internet, well, I'm subscribed to loads of channels, right? And that's the other theme that I want to, the other topic or theme that I want to talk to you about: my own routine, which is, well, I don't want to skip anything. Well, the WhatsApp group, and you watch movies, right? You watch movies or films, which is you are reading a book, Bernadette, watching cartoons. Sorry if I make a mistake, which what I catch it from you. Perhaps I'm not this my writings here are not that accurate, guys, because it's obvious I can't write everything in the most accurate way. But I have written down that you like to see movies, you like reading, and you like to watch cartoons, right? I'm subscribed to a channel called English Fairy Tales, and I really love it. I really love it because I always, when I see some story, they are interesting, and they are plenty of vocabulary, and they are subtitled, and I always pay attention of that. English fairy tales. I love that channel, and I recommend it to you. For example, I don't like to share certain stories or some specific stories on these platforms, because everyone likes to see whatever they want, right? So, but I recommend it to you if you want to watch it, or subscribe. But it's not necessary. There are loads of videos on the internet. So that's not the problem of nowadays. That's the problem of the past. In the past, there was difficult to find something in English, but nowadays there are loads of videos, teachers, coaches. So it's all available on the internet. And well, there is a great movie that I want to recommend to you, Bernadette. You can see it if you want, right? There, as I said, there are millions of movies, but there was one that I liked a lot, which is called Ghost Writer, right? The Ghost Writer. It has a really dark drama, right? It has has a lot of, I'm going to look to this word, suspense. Let me see if that word exists. Suspense, yeah, exists, a suspense movie. So well, my routine. Well, I have explained in other videos what I do for a living. It's not the, I would like to catch a better job, right? I have to focus on that. I want to definitely focus on that in 2 months time, right? Because I want to try to look for another job, but I'm basically, I can say to you that I'm working like a freelancer, right? I work like a freelancer for an organization that makes analysis of of lots of things related to public infrastructure, and I have to submit a report quarterly, right? A report which topic is about transport of urban and interurban routes. And well, I don't have the time to translate. Yeah, I guess that they are the same word, urban and interurban routes. Traffic from airport traffics, airplanes traffic, and things like that, accidents, and all car accidents, all of those kind of things. And it's a really long report that I have to submit quarterly. So this kind of work has pros and cons, right? And the reality is that I have to rush up a lot, but from the point that I work from home, I waste a lot of time, right? I waste a lot of time, and I really have to focus more on my work, right? And it has pros and cons, because the cons, well, there is an economical cons, they and another con is that it's not easy to focusing on it, right? It's not easy to focusing on it. And well, the pros of it, the advantages of it is that it gives me a lot of freedom, right? It gives me a lot of freedom to organize my own time, to move wherever I want, and stuff like that. And but it's not the best job that I would like. But I have to look for another one. And well, this I definitely don't want to lengthen this video too much. I have been talking for 36 minutes, so I have written down lots of things. There are lots of things that I have written down from your chat. I wanted to talk a little bit about the transport system, that you have started your video talking a little bit about the weather, transport system, and stuff like that. And well, I'm going to try to rush up a little bit. Okay, my routine. I'm subscribed to lots of YouTube channels, so I listen to that. Well, there is a work that I have to do, is that I download lots of videos from YouTube. And what else? Well, sometimes I put it on the TV, or sometimes on the computer, but that is my source of listening, right? And I check these platforms, Kanguro English, the 3 platforms of Kanguro English, and sometimes I have to run some errand. It's a mixture. My life is a mixture, guys. Is a mixture of work, entertainment, English, a mixture. And that's my routine. And finally, well, I want to mention, guys, about the transport system. Well, you mentioned, Manuel, that the public transport on Chicago and New York are really good, right? And I still remember the public transport on Australia was really good as well. I was to Sydney, right? I have been to Sydney more than 4 years ago, and I remember that on the bus stops there were some placards, right? There were some placards. Perhaps even that is more democratic than that one in Chicago, because there were placards on the bus stops where there were the schedules over there, right? There were the times, right? The times over there. I remember that in Australia they said the times. I don't remember that they said schedules, or schedules, right? And there were the times written on that placards. And for example, my uncle, he had pictures. He had the pictures, right? And he knew the times. Well, here in Chile, here in Santiago, there exists a kind of there is an app where if you know the code of certain bus stop, and the number of the line number of the bus, you can send a message and they will tell you that in which time will the bus pass. That exists, and well, I guess that it's a little. I'm not used to using it that much, and I guess that most people don't really use it that much. But I know that there are a lot of it exists. It exists, right? It exists, and it's a really good technology. But I have to say that the most democratic the most democratic way was the one that I saw in Australia, right? In Australia, and because there were placards, right? There were placards on the bus stop, and well, another thing. Well, here is really hot, and I have seen on the news that in Chicago, the temperatures has dropped down nearly to the temperatures of the Antarctica or other really frozen places. So, I really don't know. He is really hot. He is really hot. The temperatures here has risen up really so much. So, well, I'm rushing up a little bit. What? Okay. Well, I think that I have talked a lot, and I think that now it's a good moment to say goodbye. I want to congratulate you guys. Your chat was really interesting, and I'll definitely always been looking forward to watching your videos. And congratulations, guys, cause you have improved a lot, and thank you very much for your words towards me. I really appreciate them. Okay, well, I hope you like my video. If you watch it, I'll really appreciate it. But it's not mandatory, guys. All these the best thing of this is that it all depends on us, right? It's nothing is mandatory over here. We are our own coaches, as Manuel said in your last chat, right? Okay, that's all for now, guys. I want to congratulate you again, and see you next time. Bye bye.